Actually, we are going to just review Nutrition 101 because that's what we were talking about when we got to vitamins. So Nutrition 101. Remember we said that when it comes to nutrition, we have macronutrients and micronutrients. That's a great way to help understand nutrition. And the macronutrients are broken down into carbs, protein, and fat. We're familiar with those terms, but we may not really know the best types of these foods to pick. And we stress that carbs are not the enemy. Carbs are your friend, but you want the healthy carbs, the unprocessed, unrefined carbs, like your sweet potato, not your potato chips, like your plantain, not your fried or your plantain chips. Protein is important for building muscles and tissues, but we don't need that much. Many of us get way too much protein, and that leads to problems. Kidney damage, bone loss, certain cancers. So I stress that we need to eat less protein and really aim for plant proteins. We can get all the proteins we need from plants. We don't need milk, eggs, or cheese to get enough protein. Then we spoke about fat, and I had your head spinning with fat because I really brought out, all the science for you about the saturated and the unsaturated and the polyunsaturated and the mono. But I think the key I was trying to drive home with that is fat is a main problem that we often don't realize. And we need to cut down on fat significantly and look for those hidden fats. Fat that's hidden in cheese, in ice cream. Get rid of those. Fat that we add to our vegetables. Too much oil we pour on everything. Fat that's in our beautiful nuts, but it's too much. We need to eat less. So those were the key points on those macronutrients. And then we moved on to micronutrients. And I said that micro is used not because they're less important, but because we need just a little bit to get the work done, but they are super important. We need to actually major in our micros. We need a lot of micronutrients to be healthy. And we spoke about vitamins. Nutrients are vitamins and minerals. We haven't gotten to minerals yet. That's coming up. But we spoke about vitamins. And vitamins are broken down into fat-soluble and water-soluble vitamins. We spoke about the fat-soluble. A, D, E, and K. Those are all fat soluble. They're stored in the body, so you don't get deficient very quickly because they're stored somewhere in your liver, usually. And now we're moving on to our water soluble vitamins. This is the first talk on water solubles. And I am excited because it's amazing how much these vitamins do. It really is amazing. Vitamins. Now,
I guess I wanted to share a personal testimony.
Yes.
The benefits of spending time with you each morning. When you talked about water vitamins and vitamin D in particular, you mentioned something that if you have vitamin D poisoning, your blood pressure goes up. And just about the time you mentioned that, I was surprised that there was a spike in my blood pressure. And it went on for about 3 days, and I had no idea because my lifestyle didn't change any. And then it dawned upon me I might have been taking too much vitamin D because of what you said. And so I stopped the vitamin D. Since then, no issue whatsoever. So I see the benefit of taking vitamin D. Yeah, isn't that amazing? And it was purely incidental. You just have to be talking about the vitamins that day.
Yes.
And so I just want to let you know you're a blessing to my own personal experience.
Yes. But you know what, Pastor? I'm glad to hear. And it wasn't incidental. I'm going to correct that statement. It was divine intervention.
Maybe so.
Because God is speaking to us each and every minute of the day, and He wants us to be in the best health. And something like that, yes, it's not intuitive. You wouldn't think about it naturally, but He speaks to us, and He is taking care of you and me and all our listeners, and He wants us to really hold on to the health message that he's given to us, because he
Mhm.
wants us to be great and full of health. So I am happy to
Yeah.
hear that. And you know what? Especially now, you're outside a lot. You're getting
Right.
lots of vitamin D. So in the summertime is a great time to put the vitamin D aside if you're in the sun a lot. If
Mhm.
your house, if you're housebound, not outside, yes, take your vitamin D. But in the summer, to everybody else listening, go outside, get it naturally, and save the vitamin D you're buying for the fall and the winter. Awesome. Thank
Mhm.
you. Thank you for that.
Yes.
So, vitamins are needed for every bodily function. It is amazing. It's needed for the nerves to function well, for your eyes to function well, for proper cognition. It's needed for the muscles in the heart to function well. It's needed for your skin to be smooth and produce enough moisture within your mouth so that your mouth is moist, your lips are moist. It's needed for reproduction. If you're vitamin deficient, you're not going to be able to be fertile, which is a big issue these days. And we don't often link vitamin deficiency with infertility, but it's real. We need vitamins for or to break down fat, proteins, and carbs. If you don't have enough vitamins, you can't process your food properly. Vitamins are really, really very important. They are essential for every bodily function. When it comes to water soluble vitamins, we have vitamin B and vitamin C, the two types. There are many types of vitamin B. So that's why you see the term vitamin B complex, because there's so many different types of vitamin B. You have B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, B12, B13, B15, and even more. And then you have vitamin C. Today, we'll talk about a few of the vitamin Bs. We will not get through all of them. We'll finish those up the next time we talk. So, there are several different parts of vitamin B. So, you have the vitamin B complex. And if you're deficient in one of them, the others won't work that well. So, it's really important that you get all of them as much as possible. I want to remind you that during the milling process, cereals and grains lose almost all of the vitamin B. Because many lectures back, we spoke about how grains have vitamins in them. Grains are things like rice, oats, quinoa, wheat. But when they are processed in the factory, the vitamins are lost. However, because this is so well known, the government has mandated that some of these vitamins be put back in the cereals. And that's when you see the word enriched. Enriched cereals have some vitamins sprinkled back in and some iron and some other
Mhm.
essentials. Vitamin B1, that's the first one we're going to talk about. It's also called thiamine. Now, what does vitamin B1 do? It's essential for energy production. It helps you to feel energized and helps you to get things done. You need it to break down carbohydrates. Remember, carbohydrates are the foods that actually provide us with energy. And so B1 helps us break down carbohydrates to get the energy. It helps your nerves and your heart function well. You see this guy here, the picture is showing that he feels energized because he's having adequate vitamin intake. When you don't have enough B1, you can get a disease called beriberi. Now, that term is not that common anymore because we've enriched so many of our foods here in the West. But in other countries, you still have this. And beriberi is Indian for I can't. And that came from the individuals feeling like they can't move, like I'm so weak, I can't do anything. And so when you don't have enough vitamin B1, you get almost like this lack of energy, almost like a paralysis. It was first noted when rice was polished. So when they stopped using brown rice and we got to white rice, that's when we first discovered this issue with vitamin B1 deficiency. So you see, your brown rice is really important. Folks say, I don't like how it tastes, I can't chew it. But trust me, the brown rice has vitamins in there that can help you be healthier. Other
Mhm.
symptoms of vitamin B1 deficiency include fatigue. And fatigue is so common these days, Pastor. Almost every other patient that I see struggles with fatigue. Depression, that's also very big. not just because of the environmental stresses that we go through, but because of our dietary deficiencies that is linked to our depression. It also, vitamin B1 deficiency also can be linked to headaches, moodiness, leg cramps. A lot of people have muscle cramps. A lot of patients ask me, how do I help these cramps? I get cramps. Lack of proper nutrition. Vitamin B1 is an important one to look at when you're having muscle cramping. Also, numbness and tingling in the feet. Lack of adequate vitamins. So where can I find these? Well, whole grains have B vitamins. Whole grain breads have B vitamins. And now you're expert on picking the best bread. You won't go and get the white, stretchy, squishy bread or the Hawaiian squishy yellow bread. No, you'll get your heavy, you know, thick whole wheat bread. And don't forget to look at the ingredients for whole wheat, not just wheat, but whole, WHOLE, whole wheat. You can also find it in cereals. But please, mind you, many of the cereals on the shelf are mostly sugar. So you don't want to be buying those to get vitamins because you get more sugar than vitamins. So you should always read your labels, right? If the first three ingredients have sugar, just put it back. Don't put it in the shopping cart. You can also find B1 in peas and beans. And we've discussed that, Pastor, that folks need more education on how to cook peas and beans, and we will get to that. I am creating a syllabus around peas and beans because they're so important, and we need them in our diet actually every day. Peanuts have a lot of B vitamin, and so does peanut butter. A word here on peanut butter. When you go and buy your peanut butter and you look at the bottle, you should see a layer of oil at the top. If you don't see free flowing oil at the top of your peanut butter, if your whole peanut butter is dense and it's just all peanut butter, no oil at the top, that is way too processed. That has hydrogenated fats. Put that peanut butter away. Put it back. Say no thank you. Get the one that has oil on the top. So that's the natural oil from the nut. Every nut butter should have free floating oil on the top. That comes from the nut. When you open up the bottle, then you mix it all in. You mix the oil back into the nut. That's the fat that naturally comes from the nut. So that's a very important practical tip. All nut butters you buy should have some oil at the top. You also find B vitamins in green leafy vegetables, my favorite. Um, Many Americans do not eat green leafy vegetables. It's lacking in many diets. And that's a big problem when it comes to adequate nutrition because green leafy vegetables are your densest source. It means in one little leaf you have jammed in tons of minerals and vitamins. So it's key to actually eat these every single day, not every other day or once a week or on the weekends. You need green leafies every single day. And so do our children. And if you have a problem actually eating it because of mental, aversion or taste bud aversion, hide it in the food. Chop it up fine and put it in the stew, put it in the soup, put it in your smoothie. Hide it, but hide it in the food so it's not so visible. If you can't tolerate, if your kids don't want to eat it, but it's actually a must when you're talking about good nutrition for yourself and your children. It's actually vital.
Doc, I noticed when juicing, they told me not to mix, for example, kale and colored greens. I'm not sure why. So, in terms of when I think of green leafy vegetables, of course, for West Indian callaloo, the first thing that came to my mind. For us
Yes.
Americans, the first thing is colored greens, right? You got
Yes.
spinach, pop chow, Swiss chard, and they have different texture. Is it all right to just eat all of them together, or is there something to similar to the juicing? They shouldn't be all combined, and why?
That's a very good question. So when it comes to juicing, I have never heard that you should not mix collard greens with kale. I've never come across that, and I would actually love to know who told you that, so I could
Hmm.
figure out more where they were coming
Yeah.
from. But
A
what?
naturopathic doctor told me that. Yes.
Oh, kale and Swiss chard. No, I'm not familiar with that. But
Hmm.
when it comes to combinations, the biggest one that you should remember is that you don't want to mix your melons with your other fruits or vegetables, because when it comes to digestion, you're looking at fruits and vegetables based on their fiber content. Now, food digests at different rates based on how much fiber is in the food. So when you eat a watermelon, there's very little fiber in the watermelon. It just goes through fast, like water. When you eat an apple with a watermelon, an apple has a lot of fiber in there, and it takes a little longer for it to process. So it needs more time in the stomach. If you eat a fruit salad with apples and watermelons together, you are not going to have enough time to digest the watermelon first and the apple next. So you may end up with what they call putrefaction, where the melon will not digest well, and so it kind of putrefies or spoils a little bit because it's mixed up with the apple, and that can lead to indigestion, bloating, and so you want to separate them. They say not to mix fruits and vegetables for that same reason. Most fruits don't have as much fiber as vegetables, so you want to separate them. But I do combine fruits and veggies when they both have a high fiber content. So in my smoothies, I do mix apples with greens because apples have a lot of fiber, and so they'll both digest at a similar rate. I do combine berries and say spinach because they have both berries have a lot of fiber, believe it or not, and so they'll digest at a similar rate. So when it comes to eating your meals, though, it's best to have your fruits with breakfast or with one meal and your veggies with the other meal. That's ideal. But if you want to mix, consider fiber content. A high fiber fruit like an apple or a pear, very high fiber, can be easily mixed with a high fiber vegetable. All veggies can be eaten together. You know, you can have a nice big pot of your kale, your broccoli, your callaloo, your cabbage, but I would say when you're cooking them, you need to cook them at different rates. So you need to put in the tougher vegetable leaves first. So you cook your collards first, then you add in your cabbage because it doesn't cook as long, it has less fiber. Then last you put in your broccoli because it cooks real fast. So when you're cooking, you put them in the pot at different times so you don't end up with soggy broccoli and tough kale.
Yeah, I'm kind of puzzled about you called it pear, but I think you meant avocado. But the avocado,
No, 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 pear, no, no, pear as in, I'm
you,
sorry, pear as in, not avocado, pear as in the fruit, Bartlett pears
yeah,
or,
Bartlett pears. I
yes,
see. They're high fiber foods as well.
very high fiber, yes.
I saw is avocado and high fiber food?
It is, avocado is high fiber, yes, it is. So you can put that in your smoothie with your vegetables too, yeah.
Yeah, I was a little puzzled because avocado seems so nice and creamy. How come it's high fiber? I'm always puzzled about that.
Avocado is a mystery, I tell you. That is one mysterious food because I'm amazed how much protein is in avocado, how much fiber is in it, and also how much fat. You know, it's really one of those exotic, mysterious foods that you should eat, but you know, don't overdo it. Handle with care.
I see.
But it's no, it's a very healthy food, very healthy food, a lot of fiber, a lot of protein. It's excellent, but a lot of fat. So if you are obese, you have diabetes, you need to be careful about how much avocado you eat.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Yes, yes. But
So
that's an
back to your
excellent
vitamins.
question. Yes, yes.
I
And I
kind of
think
distracted you.
no, no, your questions are great. You know, I love your questions, Pastor. That's why I'm with you because you have excellent questions, and the listeners have the same questions, and you're asking on their behalf. And I think we'll end with vitamin B1 because our time is up together. But this is the last slide on B1. So vitamin B1 is a very in terms of its stability, it is water soluble, So when you cook your vegetables in water, it will leach out. So what does that mean? Cook with as little water as possible. A lot of people have problems cooking vegetables. They say, oh, it comes out soggy, it doesn't taste good, I don't know how to cook it. But the key is don't drown your vegetables. You know, if you're going to cook them, let's say you're going to cook Swiss chard, kale, broccoli, cabbage. You're going to make a nice, steamed vegetable pot. Use as little water as possible and steam it, as we said, based on the degree of toughness of the leaf, the tougher ones first. And when you're done and you have a little bit of water left in the pot, don't throw that water away, please. Your vitamins are in that water. Use that water as gravy. Pour it on to the rest of your food. Do not throw it away. You're throwing away vitamins. So that's a key point when it comes to cooking your vegetables and trying to get your vitamin B into your system. So, Pastor, we'll stop here for now. Trust me, there are a lot of vitamins, and we're going to talk about each one because you may find, just how you found, Pastor, how to treat your ailment by adjusting something in your everyday life. Others will find ways to treat various ailments based on the different vitamins that we're going to take our time and go through, because the key to real good health is not being deficient in your vitamins.
I see. Awesome. Now, how would somebody know when they're deficient in their vitamins? Are there tests that can be done to tell what vitamins is in your body, for example? And
Yeah, that's a great question. So there are not every vitamin can be tested, but many of them can be tested by blood or urine. For example, vitamin D, you have a very reliable blood test for that. And I recommend that people actually get that done to see where they are, especially in the winter months. You
Mhm.
can check for various B vitamins in urine or blood, and so it's possible, but we don't traditionally or routinely check all the vitamins. We check some certain key ones based on clinical presentation, complaints, and issues. But what I would say is this: if you are someone that is paying close attention to getting at least 3 servings of fruits and 3 to 5 servings of vegetables every day, and changing them up. Today I have a banana and an apple. Tomorrow I have, a cup of kale and a half a cup of broccoli. And the next day I introduce, some mushrooms or Swiss chard. Keep it diverse and make it every day, and you get your grains in. Your grains in every day. Um, you will be at very little risk for being deficient. You just need to eat the food that God has given you. You don't need a pill. It doesn't really make sense to me that individuals eat food that's been depleted of vitamins. Let's say you eat processed chips and processed, cookies and processed rice. So there's no vitamins, but then you take a vitamin pill. It's best to eat what God has given you in the natural foods. We are designed by a master creator. And with creating us, he has given us what we need, not in a bottle, but right in our soil. He's given us food to keep us healthy. So eat a diversity of fruits and vegetables every day. That's very important.
Awesome.